And there's reporting the White House might be caught flat-footed by the onslaught investigations from the House, Democrats taking over. White House counsel Don McGahn, of course, already out from October. And his replacement, Pat Cipollone, is going through a background check and is held up. Politico saying the office down to a skeletal staff and not prepared to deal with a flood of potential subpoenas from, well, people like this. California Congressman Eric Swalwell, who serves on both the Intelligence and Judiciary Committees, and here for a Washington perspective, Jason Johnson from The Root, also with us. Congressman, what do you think of that storyline, and will it be a defense for the White House to say, we're not staffed up, so we need more time to respond to you and the chairs you'll be working with?
Good evening, Ari. I think it also reflects a White House that has become all too comfortable with the Republican Congress that has just given them free passes in this ollie oxen-free environment for the last 2 years, where they can get away with whatever they want and not be held to account. Well, that is going to change in about 39 days when the new Congress comes in. And what we are going to do is we're going to fill in the gaps on the Russia investigation. We're going to seek to protect Bob Mueller. And we're going to understand why the president continues to have these transactional relationships that put his transactions above our country's values. That happened with Russia. That's why this is so important. It's more important than the characters of Jerome Corsi or Roger Stone. It's about the rule of law and the president putting transactional relationships above that. And it's also playing out right now in real time with Jamal Khashoggi's death, where a U.S. resident working for a U.S. publication was killed on the soil of a NATO ally. And we are almost acting as accessories after the fact to help the Saudis cover it up because of the president's transactional relationship. So those days are over, and he can expect much more accountability.
Jason, I see you nodding. Do you have a thought, and do you have a question for the congressman?
Yes. So the key thing here is, where do we start, right? I mean, the levels of not just conspiratorial, but absolute corruption and incompetence in this administration are so many that many people wonder, okay, we're really thrilled if there was a blue wave that came in. What will the new leadership focus on? Will it immediately go after Trump's finances? Will there be requests for tax returns? That's the real question that the American citizens are concerned about, and I'm wondering where the congressman thinks that the new Democrats will go first.
And Jason raises a great point. There's almost so much out there that you have to really prioritize it, because in any other administration, you would think that Jared Kushner failing to fill out a security clearance a dozen times and not disclosing his own interest is the biggest issue. That would be the case in most administrations. Here we have the president's dealings with Russia, the dealings with Saudi Arabia, cashing in on access to the Oval Office by easing sanctions with the Chinese on ZTE while they're giving him $500 million on a Trump Tower property. And then, oh yeah, the emoluments clause issue. So we want to do a few things and do them right, to not overwhelm the American people, but to show them that, again, that we're going to do our job and put a balance of power on this abuse of power.
Well, and Congressman, you mentioned Kushner, and I saw you told the New York Times today that's not as high on your list. The president obviously is trying to have it both ways and say that the Democrats are going to overreach in dealing with his family. And I think for family members of the president who are uninvolved, who are truly what we might say civilians, who happen to be family members, there probably should traditionally be some deference. But do you think that it's an abuse of that spirit, of that good faith, as lawyers might say, with a president who has insisted for the first time in U.S. history on controlling and owning a business and putting his family in charge of that so that they can profit while they're in government, and then, as we all know, installing other members of his family in government who've now been flouting email rules, among other things?
Right. It's one thing, Ari, if it's just straight corruption, and that should be dealt with ideally criminally. It's another thing, though, if the president's financial interests are driving U.S. foreign policy, and that's what we're seeing with Saudi Arabia and with Russia. And I think that's what we want to really zero in on and make sure that we can intervene where we can and where we weren't able to in the last 2 years.
Right.
And Jason, before I let you go, what is the feeling in your view in Washington here as we get past the holiday, as we have the bombshell report I'm going to deal with more tonight regarding the targeting of trying to jail James Comey and Hillary Clinton, of the blue wave tonight reaching even higher numbers? Are you starting to see in your reporting and in the mood that shift in Washington, or not yet?
I think people are beginning to get a bit excited. I think one thing that's happened today is sort of the obstinance and the arrogance of these people heading to jail, whether it's Jerome Corsi saying, I won't sign this, or Papadopoulos acting like, I mean, he's going to jail for 2 weeks. 2 weeks and you were involved in possibly attacking American democracy. He acts like he's going to have a do-rag and singing Locked Up, okay? He's going to be in Club Fed for 2 weeks, and then he will walk out. So I think a lot of people are shocked that even as this net becomes tighter and tighter on this administration, the boldness and the arrogance of the Trump administration continues. So we'll be interested to see how the blue wave starts to rein some of these people in.
I think that certainly is one of the notes we're picking up. It's a fascinating period, and it's clearly a transition period. Jason, thanks for your reporting. Congressman, thanks for making time for us.
Thank you, Ari. My pleasure.
Appreciate both of you.
Thanks for watching. To see more videos, click right here, and subscribe.